My regards. Only one team in French history has won the Champions League, to this day. His fans are proud of this unique title and show themselves bigger than Sangerman no matter what he does these days, as long as Paris does not have a Champions League. We will talk about Marseille and the most suspicious Champions League title in history. Year 1993. Many French teams almost won the Champions League. All of them lost in the final. Paris reached the final, losing to Bayern Munich. Reims lost. Monaco lost to Porto Mourinho, and Saint-Étienne tried and failed. That's why Marseille fans always say we are the greatest French club. We are the ones who put France at the top of Europe. What makes them more confident in their words is that they actually won the Champions League at the expense of one who was the bogeyman of Europe at the time, Milan. In that season, Marseille was owned by a businessman named Bernard Tapie. This man began pumping money into Marseille in the 1980s, helped it rise to the first division, and then began investing in it, until they reached one of the best formations in Europe. The team had elite players in the world. Their goalkeeper was Fabien Barthez, and their center-back was Marcel Desailly. Their striker, Rudi Flair, won the 1990 World Cup with Germany, and Abedi Pele, one of the most important African talents of that period. The decisive Croatian striker and top scorer Boksic was brought in. This team had won the French league 4 times in a row. Then came the 5th league in a row, in the same period in which he was playing the Champions League final with Milan. Because of this qualitative shift that Tapie made for Marseille, today on their official website, they wrote about him as an icon president. They are proud of him despite his many scandals in football and elsewhere. Marseille was playing the 2nd Champions League final in its history, because it lost the 1991 final on penalties to Yugoslav Red Star. The French team plays the final after an acceptable way in which it played against Club Brugge, Rangers and CSKA in Moscow in a tournament whose system was different from the tournament we know now. As for Milan, it was playing its 6th European final. He won 4 out of 5. Before that, he has a terrifying battalion that includes Van Basten and Ricard, and elite Italian players. On top of them are Maldini, Costa Curta, and their terrifying coach, Fabio Capello. The Milan confrontation was on May 26th, but on May 20th, there was a problem for Marseille because they had a match in the French league. The match is against Valenciennes, which is threatened with relegation. There was great fear that the players of the team threatened with relegation would resort to violence and beatings in order to scare the Marseille players from injury and missing the European final. Consequently, they take points, and the league is lost to Marseille. And Marseille players are distracted mentally and may be injured. But things went well with Marseille, without injuries, without problems, and with victory, to go play with Milan with his full squad, focus and morale. From a corner kick, the Spoolie scored Marseille's only goal in that match. Then Marseille defended in a great way and won the title. He raised the double-eared cup for the first time in its history and in the history of France, and for the only time so far. Milan lost its first European final in 1958 when it lost the final to Real Madrid 3/2 in extra time. When Marseille returned to France, everyone was celebrating in their city. Everyone in the street, everyone flying with joy, but little by little, scary news started to come out. Then this frightening news, after accumulating, turned into an earthquake. There is talk that Marseille paid bribes to French Valenciennes, or for some damned person, a player named Jackie Glassman. He was a Valenciennes player. He came out to the media and said they offered me a bribe through my former colleague who I played with in Nantes. Currently, he is in Marseille, Jean-Jacques Idlet. Glassman wasn't the only one, but other big names were present. The Argentine legend who scored the goal that decided the 1986 World Cup. He was playing with Valenciennes and was also accused of offering him a bribe and accepting it. There was also another player named Christopher Robert. There were reports that he took the bribe and agreed. The bribe proposal was from club president Tapie. Everything was implemented on the ground by the club manager. This man's name is Janie Bjorge, and he was the one who spoke to Idel and told him, "Look, you have former players from Nantes playing with this club. Talk to them and offer them money to facilitate the match." Idel admitted and said, "Tapie told me to tell the players you know in Valenciennes, so they don't act stupidly and tire us out. That's why Tapie keeps defending himself and saying that I didn't offer a bribe to win. I offered a bribe so they wouldn't cause us any injuries." Glassman was the reason this whole affair was exposed. He went and told one of the judges in the city of Valenciennes, who in turn informed the public prosecution, and investigations began. And these investigations revealed a little bit of evidence. 250,000 Swiss francs, at the house of Valenciennes player Robert. And here Tabby came out and said, "This is a loan that I gave him so that he could start his own project." But Adelia confessed and said, "No, I was an intermediary with this bribe." And here he was imprisoned, and the club director was imprisoned together. Even player Robert's wife was also accused because she received the money. Marseille fans were divided at first. They held demonstrations in support of the president and the club, saying, "This is a conspiracy against us," and demonstrations attacking the bribery owner who caused the problems. In September 1993, it was announced that the French league title would be withdrawn from Marseille. And here, something happened that we call media misinformation. Perhaps or people became confused. People thought that it was the French league and the Champions League that withdrew from them. But the Champions League is a championship reserved for this moment, with Marseille. When they withdrew the title from Marseille, they said it should be given to Paris. Paris refused. He made a brave decision and said, "No, I will not take the title," for a simple reason. The whole tournament was distorted. The decision also included Marseille's relegation to the second division. Marseille was banned from participating into tournaments, the European Super Cup and the Intercontinental Cup. As for the owner, Tabby, he was banned from practicing any sporting activity and forced to resign from the club's management. At that time, many people demanded that all league titles be withdrawn from Marseille, and they said that these were all bribery titles. By the way, there were titles at the expense of Monaco with Arsene Wenger. CSK and Moscow coach Kostilov said they offered him a bribe in the Champions League matches, but he was unable to provide any support or proof for his words. Marseille fans continued to brag about their Champions League title, but then events happened that distorted it. After relegation, the team lost most of its stars.